Major Hurricane Erin continues to spin away out here in the Atlantic this morning, making a close enough pass to places like the Greater Antilles to bring impacts. The big question is, who's next? Looks like the Turks, Caicos Islands, the Bahamas. This is going to make a similar close pass, close enough to bring impacts. After that, we got to watch the entire East Coast, especially from, the North Carolina coastline northward all the way up into Atlantic Canada. There's been some wobbles back and forth, very small ticks, but these small ticks, when you have such a large and tight gradient wind field, make a big difference. So we'll speak on all model guidance. We'll go over potential impacts. After that, there is another signal holding steady, even rising for another tropical wave that will have a shot to develop once it gets to maybe the same area that Erin is in right now, maybe into the Caribbean and eventually maybe even into the Gulf. So we need to figure that one out. Also, the National Hurricane Center has dubbed this an area of interest, so everybody is watching it. We'll talk about today's weather. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put in the comments below. It's a very important part of this channel. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, yeah, but it gives hundreds, maybe even thousands of others to see your prayer request and pray over it also. So with that being said, let's get rocking and rolling this morning. This is Hurricane Erin. Erin has weakened a good bit overnight. The millibar has went up, meaning a weakening storm system, and basically it underwent an eye wall replacement cycle last night. We were talking about that in last night's video. This, it normally takes these hurricanes a long time to really recover from that. So right now, the National Hurricane Center is thinking this is going to re-intensify, but we no longer really have a cleared out eye. It looks like we've had a warming in the eye, basically of the cloud tops, but around it still very cold cloud tops indicated by the white and even splashes of pink you see occasionally in here. Not as cold as yesterday when this was a much more intense or rapidly intensifying hurricane, but just note, if you're wondering, cold, warm cloud tops, what does that mean, Mitch? Well, the colder the cloud tops, the taller the storm. The taller the storm, the stronger the storm. So these updrafts, they get higher and higher up in the atmosphere, and the higher it gets, the colder it gets. And this is reflected by sort of these white colors here. So very intense, still Category 3 hurricane as of around 7:20 a.m. Eastern time. So we got to see if this is going to re-intensify. But we got, Puerto Rico down here. We got the Virgin Islands still getting impacts. We got, Hispaniola starting to show up on your screen, even the, edge of the Turks, Caicos Islands. So this continues to move west-northwest at around 13, 14 miles per hour. So I do want to take a look at the radar out of Puerto Rico. Here it is. I mean, you can see on radar, obviously a cyclonic motion. I mean, you got a major hurricane just north of you guys. You guys are still getting some outer bands. And we just got to see how close this is going to get to the Turks, Caicos Islands, which is right here. And it's moving towards your area. So just wanted to, describe current conditions with this system. Now, as far as from the latest from the National Hurricane Center, the latest advisory has us at a 125 mile per hour Category 3 hurricane. And they are thinking it's going to re-intensify into a Category 4 storm sometime this afternoon. So about around, like I said, 2 p.m., 130 mile per hour storm. We do have tropical storm watches up for the Turks and Caicos Islands. And even areas of like the southern Bahamas, we have tropical storm watches up. Will they issue any tropical storm watches further north into the islands? Not sure. We just got to watch. I think there's a very real possibility we could see that. But by 2 a.m. in the morning, so overnight, they are thinking this is going to get back up to a 145 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane. Its peak intensity so far has been a Category 5, 160 mile per hour storm, bottomed out to 915 millibars right now, around 940, and will remain a Category 4 storm, basically forecast to all the way through tomorrow night. And then it looks like it begins to weaken maybe into a Category 2 storm eventually, but not before it gets like way up here. So could still be a major hurricane passing between Bermuda and the East Coast. Now, I know you guys are not in the cone. I want to reiterate this. Let's go back down here. You're probably wondering, the Turks, Caicos Islands, maybe some people are, why do we have tropical storm warnings up if we're not in the cone? Well, the cone is in the impact zone, guys. This is where the track of the storm could go. Impacts expand way out away from the cone. I mean, look at the hurricane itself. The hurricane is much larger than the cone, right? So just, remember that as we go along. But this is forecast to make a turn. We got Bermuda here. We got the Carolina coastline right here. But just remember, this how large will the wind field get? It will get very large. It will expand as this moves north, which normally happens with these tropical systems, especially when they go post-tropical. And Nova Scotia, you guys are not in the cone yet. This is just too far out, but I am watching my friends up here in St. John's, the Avalon Peninsula, just southeast sections of Newfoundland. So enough of all that. Let's go over model guidance. Now I want to note, model guidance is not initializing the right strength at all. So we're purely looking at model guidance based off the direction this could go, the path it could take. Now, some people might argue, well, it being wrong off gauging how strong it thinks it is could disrupt where it thinks it's going to go. I would say, yeah, possibly, but this is the only thing that we have to look at. It's not like we can jump in a time machine and and try to figure out exactly where this goes, right? So model guidance is all we have to look at. So we're going to start this off tomorrow afternoon. There's the Bahamas here. You know, tomorrow looks like it's going to make its closest pass, but far enough away to not bring significant impacts, but close enough to maybe bring some outer bands, maybe some strong gusty winds, nothing too crazy or I don't think life-threatening. But, you know, as we start to move into Tuesday evening and then we get into Wednesday morning, still a very strong hurricane. It begins to get a little bit larger. And then we get into Wednesday night, and sometime Wednesday night and Thursday morning, it probably makes its closest pass to, say, the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And I think that this wind field expands enough to where we actually might have some tropical storm watches issued for like Cape Hatteras, maybe Rodance, just the far easternmost areas of the Outer Banks. But just some small-scale ticks west could make a significant difference as far as what happens for far eastern North Carolina. Got to watch even for, even the Tidewater. Virginia Beach, Norfolk, we got to pay attention to you guys, but especially the Outer Banks. Listen, I'm worried for the future of the Outer Banks. All it's going to take is just a major hurricane to plow right into, this thin area of islands. I've been out here. It's very thin, and I honestly think that it could wipe you guys out. That sounds terrible. I think that it could wipe this island out. Hopefully, it won't wipe anyone out, but hopefully people evacuate. But hopefully we just somehow avoid it for as long as possible. But I do think it's inevitable. But this thing does turn. I don't see this just plowing right into the North Carolina coastline. But this thing does begin to head north. How close does it get to, say, Newfoundland, the Avalon Peninsula, St. John's? Well, here it comes. The Euro has ticked further to the northwest, unfortunately, compared to the last run we showed you last night. And it does clip you guys with the northern northwestern portion of the storm. And because this wind field is expanding so much, this would bring some strong gusty winds. Much needed rain, but you're probably going to get the winds with it also. And this is for, the end of next week. Well, the end of this week now, you can say, into Saturday morning. So about 5-6 days from now. What about the GFS? How close does it get? About the same distance, honestly. Wednesday morning, this comes up and makes its closest pass right here around Wednesday night. Thursday morning, we got still what looks like a major hurricane off the coastline, but far enough away to not bring significant impacts. But we got to watch beach erosion, huge swells, and just some gusty winds. Is it close enough to bring some of the outermost western outer bands to the Outer Banks? Outer bands, Outer Banks, you can get that twisted up pretty easily, right? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. We need to figure that one out. But then this races off to the north and northeast. And listen, the latest GFS is not a good run for you guys in southeast Newfoundland, St. John's, the Avalon Peninsula. It definitely rakes you guys with the northwestern portion of this hurricane. And this would bring significant impacts. Hurricane force winds. I know y'all measure winds off, I believe, kilometers per hour, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll look at that here in a second for you folks. So this would be for Friday. All right, so what about the HFA model? Let's just look at this. What about hurricane models? Well, this is going to make its closest pass like tomorrow into Tuesday morning to the Bahamas, but still close enough, still far enough away to not bring significant impacts. Now I want to watch how this wind field begins to expand. So, this area, right into here, right? Watch how this expands as this moves north. Gets much larger, right? So we stop it right here. This is Wednesday evening. We got almost tropical storm force wind gusts starting to get into the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We got Bermuda right here. I think you guys will get some strong gusty winds, but man, we are splitting the gap beautifully, aren't we? I mean, this is splitting Bermuda, the East Coast perfectly. If this budges too much more to the east, Bermuda will get significant impacts. Too much more to the west, we got to watch out for the entire East Coast. But then this continues to move northeast, and look how much larger the wind field gets. I mean, it almost gets to the southern coastline of Nova Scotia. And just if you were to continue this run, this only goes 126 hours out. This would not be good news for areas in Newfoundland. So what about the Euro ensemble guidance? Listen, this is for the center of the storm. So I know you're thinking, well, this doesn't hit anybody. Well, it might not. It probably won't as far as a direct impact. As far as an actual landfall, I'm really confident this will not make a direct landfall to anybody except the fish out in the ocean. But it's just how large this storm gets. And it looks like on the Euro ensemble, which makes up 51 members, splits the North Carolina coastline and Bermuda beautifully, almost perfectly. So as far as impacts, though, this is the Bahamas. How close is this just disaster of a wind field gets? Well, you got the Turks Caicos Islands down here. And if you look at the wind color key down here, if you will, some of these yellows, that's getting over 45 to 50, 55, maybe even 60 mile per hour wind gusts, because this is gust. But there is a tight cutoff in the wind gradient here. But some of the islands here are getting some strong 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts. But luckily, you are escaping the worst just to your east, because these winds right in here, I mean, this is over 120 to 140 mile per hour wind gusts, obviously with a major category 3 or higher passing just to your east. So, man, we are getting lucky here. But what about the southeast mid-Atlantic coastline? It's close enough to the Outer Banks to bring 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts. Max wind gust off the Euro has it to a 40, 50 mile per hour wind gust or so. But even some strong gusty winds, even further inland, extreme areas in North Carolina, Norfolk, areas into the Tidewater, into the coastal areas of Delaware, Maryland, could bring some strong winds, especially some strong northerly winds, as basically the cyclonic flow of this wraps winds dramatically down from the north on the west side of the system. So this is going to be a stout northerly flow for sure, at least when it's making a very close pass. But it's close. We're going to get some gusty. I think we're just going to get some breezy conditions in the eastern areas, the Carolinas, Virginia, as we start to get into about the middle portion of the week. But it looks like it's far enough away to not bring, crazy significant wind gusts. Now, what about the GFS? How close does it get? It's a little bit further off, so not as strong with the winds. Now, we go up into the northeast. It looks like you guys escaped the worst, but we do out here like at Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, get some 30, 40, maybe even as high as 50 mile per hour wind gusts. I mean, and even some strong gusty winds along the Jersey Shore, Long Island, but it looks like the worst is well offshore. But man, this would be devastating. It would be terrible if this thing just did not turn fast enough. So thankfully, it looks like it is, but still is just some strong gusty winds, I think, along the coast. This is going to bring some large swells. It's one thing I really haven't looked at much on my channel is how big the waves are going to be, but man, just not a great beach week. Now for a surfer, maybe. Yeah, I'm sure it's fantastic. You're probably, loving the look at this, but just your regular beach goers, kids trying to swim, have a good time. Oof, this is going to kick up some nasty seas along these beaches as we try to take advantage of these last beach days we got as we're getting into the later portion of summer. But, up here in Newfoundland, right? Nova Scotia, I think you can get some gusty winds, St. John's, but southeast areas of Newfoundland, Avalon Peninsula, St. John, sticking out like a sore thumb here. We got 80, 82 kilometer per hour winds. This is wind gust. So I think that's equivalent to like 40, 50 mile per hour wind gust, tropical storm force winds. But the thing that I'm concerned about is if you look at the GFS, it wants to hit you guys like it has 135 kilometer per hour wind gust, which is equivalent to like Category 1 hurricane force winds. So we got to watch for you guys. And we're going to continue to, give you guys a segment of this video. You guys are so polite up here, so nice. And I always appreciate y'all tuning in. So I'm going to continue to keep you guys updated over the next several days. But moving past this, folks, there is another area to watch. All right, and it's this area right here. We have a area of interest up. And let's see if this has went up because It is not, but we don't have a new update. So I could see this bumping up to a 30% chance, but right now I think 20% chance is good. So they're thinking that a tropical wave is going to emerge. It already is off Africa. We have a lot of tropical energy, and once it gets into the central Atlantic, it's going to have a 20% chance to develop. And this is an area of low pressure could form over the central tropical Atlantic during the middle to later portion of this week. And some development is possible in this area. And listen, Model Guys likes the idea of this. And if we take a look at this wave action right here, I mean, it's just a combination of a lot of energy, right? We got this. We got some big waves coming off North Africa, still over Africa right now. But it looks like the monsoon trough is getting active once again. And we're still just in that favorable, what we call MJO pulse, rising air still over this area of the Atlantic for the most part. And this is just going to favor just an active period still out here. It's wild how we just flipped the switch with tropical activity as soon as we move into August. It was looking like we were going to have a slow approach to hurricane season. Boy, was I wrong. But the latest GFS, what does it show? Now, this is the only graphic I'm going to show out here in the MDR, but I just want to show you where this wave kind of comes, right? So there's a lot of energy right into here. And this is getting into tomorrow afternoon, okay? Watch how it just kind of gradually shifts across the Atlantic. And then by the time we're into the end of this work week, we got some sort of energy slipping into the Eastern Caribbean. Now, in the shorter to medium term, this has weakened somewhat. So that's something to watch. Are we going to get a weaker trend? But even as it weakens, the energy gets into the Eastern Caribbean as we're getting into next Saturday morning. Then we have a developing tropical cyclone in the Central Caribbean. And this eventually does develop into a tropical storm, starts to move north, hits Cuba. And then when it gets into the Western Caribbean, where the waters are very warm, 80s, even some low 90s. And then, of course, we get beyond day 10. Anything that gets in the Gulf is going to rapidly intensify. I mean, it's almost a must. It's almost a guarantee is what I meant to say, because you don't have any cold fronts really dipping down to create any wind shear. It's still August. So, that's why this thing takes off like a rocket. But basically, the common theme on the GFS, wave survives the Atlantic, makes it, develops into the Caribbean, and then pulls it a little bit west-northwest and gets into the Gulf. And we don't want anything getting into the Gulf. We all should know that. Now, what about the Euro? The Euro has been stubborn with developing this, but we'll start off Friday morning, August the 22nd. And there goes Erin heading off to the north. I know it's a little bit of an eyesore, but it'll move off your screen now. But this is our wave. The Euro has been stuck on this, moving more so, taking a more so recurve kind of, or a curve scenario. So we're all the way into about a week from today. We do have a tropical cyclone here in the southwest Atlantic. And this does actually develop, but then it heads north. But it does look like it gets stronger as it heads north into a hurricane, actually. So that's something to watch, and that's just the 10-day frame. Next name is Fernand, the F name. So that's the Euro. What about the Euro AI model? It's always going to follow its brother. I always call the Euro AI model the Euro operational run's brother here. But it follows that run and takes just a weak tropical system but turns it north. Okay, what about the Icon? Well, stop it. It only goes 120 hours out, which is all the way into late Thursday night. And it does have a wave developing, a 1,005 millibar low. That's how they always start. There's Erin, raging hurricane, getting very close. Man, that is close. Jeez, the Icon has this really, really, really close to the Outer Banks. I didn't even notice that until just now. Man, that's close. Sheesh. But anyways, we got to watch this wave here. I lost our focus. So I'm not going to show you the spaghetti plots I normally do because everything's all clustered together because we have the track of Erin on our screen. But this is the Euro ensemble for that signal, right? There goes Erin's signal racing off. And you're going to just see some occasional L's and some different coloring of your screen. This is the signal that shows up. So this is the Euro ensemble. This makes up 51 members and shows a pretty large spread. And let's go all the way to right here. It doesn't show a ton of members, but we certainly do have some. Some are up here, some are down here. But there's not a lot following what the GFS does, which is kind of a route through the Caribbean. But we do have some members out here showing some pretty strong systems. We got several developing kind of later in the run after day 10. And that we don't want to see that. And we got some stuff drifting into the Gulf. What about the GFS ensemble? This is the newest run. What does it show? And this only makes up 21 members, so you're just naturally not going to see as many L's on your screen. And I mean, it honestly doesn't really follow its operational run. It more so follows kind of what the Euro and Euro Ensemble is doing. But yeah, so we still need to watch this, guys. And we're going to be watching this next wave big time. I think it could do something tricky, and we certainly need to pay attention to it. Now, let's try to get one last update from the National Hurricane Center. And yeah, a little bit of change here with this wave, so I'm glad I did that. Now they have the wave here, so they're thinking that the front end wave is the one that has a chance of developing, but still has just a 20% chance to develop, and this has not changed much. But now, I mean, areas of the Leeward Islands are in this too. So any updated information with Erin? Erin's still 125 mile per hour storm. So anyways, let's see if there's been some changes with the peak intensity. Not from what I'm seeing yet, but this might not have upgraded yet, or updated. So let's talk about today's weather, what we got out there, guys. I know, my folks that don't get affected by the tropics are like, dude, you left us hanging lately. Well, we just got to focus on that stuff when it's popping off. I hope you guys understand. But the Dakota's getting a huge area of storms raging through this morning. We have just an avenue of storms going through southern areas of Minnesota. Flash flood warnings are up. We got some storms cruising down into the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, rainy start. We got a lot of heavy rain out here. Buffalo getting some storms, big chunk of rain. About to try to move into Maine later on today. A little bit of shower and storm activity off the Carolina and Georgia coastline. A little bit of moisture going through the Rockies. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Heat advisories still flexing with this late summer heat. We actually got some dense fog advisories out here. So when we start to get some fog, we're starting to get late in summer. Red flag warnings out in Idaho mixed with flood watches. So that's interesting. Actually, I think that's extreme heat warnings. No, that's red flag warnings. So chances of storms today, a good chunk of the lower 48 has a risk of thunderstorms. If you live in these marginal risk areas, the dark green, that is a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. So we'll watch out for some more intense thunderstorms in those areas. Flash flooding threat. We do got a 15% risk here in areas of the upper Midwest. So we're getting flash flood warnings right now, so you're aware of this, I'm sure. But just be careful of some of these storms training over the same areas. The Southeast is your typical late summer flow. Thunderstorms popping off in the peninsula of Florida. Pop-up thunderstorms everywhere else. You can see just these pop-ups in greens and yellows and reds. But overall, you're not seeing much flow. A little bit more flow once you get up into the Northeast. You can see that some thunderstorms could be more widespread in PA, Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia today. And these storms could pack more of a punch. Just normal run-of-the-mill thunderstorms further up in New England. Not everybody's going to get rain, but if you do, it could be a big old thunderstorm, that's for sure. South Central U.S., pop-up thunderstorms. That's the general theme. Not really a whole lot else to discuss besides that. Some people will get it, maybe your neighbor up the road, and then you might be bone dry. North Central U.S., we continue to have a lot of flow up here, but the HRRR model is handling what's going on horribly, so it's honestly hard to take this serious. But we get into this evening, and more thunderstorms will be the theme again across Minnesota. And we'll just deal with another stormy overnight period across areas of the upper Midwest. Your storm season will not probably last much longer as we're getting late in summer. And the jet will begin to sag back south on average again. So enjoy these summer thunderstorms. I know for some it gives people anxiety, but they won't be with us too much longer up here. But the western U.S., we got some flow across the Rockies. This will bring just some damp times across Idaho, Wyoming, Montana especially. So we'll watch out for that. Temperatures, man, check out this temperature gradient across New England today. Some areas will be in fall, and then you head on down the road, and it's raging summer. So, yeah, wild stuff. Big heat dome across the central U.S., so we got a lot of heat. And this is out west, and most everybody is hot. That's all I got, guys. Hey, folks, I just want to say thanks for the growth. I actually might go live later on this afternoon, just talk to everybody. The growth has been ridiculous over the last several days. It seems like after August 1st, if you look at the analytics to my channel, things just flipped. But last night was a video that might end up hitting 100K, and for folks that's been tuning in for a while, I've never had a video hit 100,000 views, and I got over 2,700 videos in about over a 5-year span, and it's always bothered me how I've never been able to get a 100,000 viewed video. But the one from last night might end up doing it. It's kind of creeping. It's in the 90s right now. So really appreciate y'all. Of course, when it gets this busy, I'm not able to get the comments as much. And I imagine the video last night had a lot of positive feedback, but normally the ones that explode like that have a lot of nasty comments to them. So haven't read them yet. Hopefully it's not the case, but appreciate y'all. Welcome to any new subscribers. This channel is a little different. I do it in my playroom in my house. If I was to move my camera and look that way, you would see just a bunch of toys scattered out. There's nothing fancy about this. I don't edit anything. It's about as raw as it gets when it comes to making video content. So just a guy that's passionate about weather. I have no degree. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm just a weather enthusiast, and I love weather. So thank you for trusting me. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate y'all very much. And we'll do it again tonight. God bless.